the end of the day, selling is transferring a feeling. If you don't have the feeling, you can't transfer it. If you don't have a good, positive feeling, dude, you're an actor. You have to sell and run your business from a place of positivity. And however you get there, God bless you. Welcome to the Primeau Show. It is episode 133. I can't believe how fast this year is going. We're halfway through August, and we have a great guest today, Bruce Scheer, and we are going to get started in just a second. But first, let's pay the bills. If you haven't bought my book, Sell a Million, what are you waiting for? Now is the best time in the world to grab this book. Over 101 tips on how to sell another million this year. And I'd like to say thank you to Steve Hauk and my friends at the Mattress Industry Network Group. It is a great group. If you are in the mattress business, we want you in this group. It is a group run by retailers for the benefit of the entire industry. If you want to learn how to network, how to build, how to market, how to sell, and succeed in the mattress industry, this is the place for you. Over 2,000 strong and growing every day. Just hit that little QR code and tell them Pete sent you, and I will see you on the other side. Please welcome my guest, Bruce Scheer, the CEO of Inspire Your Buyers podcast, host, author, and wearer of many hats and all things to do with sales and speaking and business. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pete. Yeah, excited to be here.
You also should have another title, and that is the separator, the title of how to separate yourself from the competition. I have, let me see, 133 episodes here. My first podcast was 33 episodes. That's 166 episodes. And you're the only guest who ever sent me a video completely separating yourself from all the other competitors. So congratulations on living something I'm sure that you preach to other business owners and salespeople. And
I do, Pete. It's so funny that video technology's been out for probably 10 years or so. And I rarely see it myself. I use it all the time. And normally, uniformly, I get a great response from people. They just says it humanizes the whole thing, and where they get to see me, my face, and just my energy, my excitement. Gosh, one of my former clients just the other day just goes, "Oh, brought joy to my day. So fun, Bruce. Thanks for doing that."
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's a little note. We'll start off the show with that. How to separate yourself from the competition, use personalized video.
Oh, please. Yeah. I personally use Vidyard. Big fan of that service. It never lets me down. It's really good. Vidyard. Vidyard.
Yep. Cool. So let's get started, buddy. It's halfway through August, and Sizzling sales conversations seems very topical right now.
Okay. Double entendre there, Pete. Nice.
Yes. So, one of the things that I noticed when I was watching some of your material is you really go deep. I mean, you are not a surface level guy. Your approach to business and to sales is at a deeper, more productive level. And so how did you kind of arrive at the place where you're at now and what you teach?
Great question. Yeah, Pete, I've been at this for a long time. I jokingly tell people I've never worked. I've been one of these career consultants. And, I started off out in Asia doing a lot of go-to-market strategy type of consulting for Hewlett Packard, Motorola, Nortel, a lot of big IBM, lots of big brands. And gosh, one thing I noticed over time where I gravitated towards was just, what's our story? What are we saying here? And I was always trying to figure that out, just to literally simplify our go-to-market approach and strategy. And I just gravitated towards that, Pete. So the last 12 years, I've just been 100% focused on the whole notion of a strategic narrative. How do we have a story that sizzles? How do we have a sales conversation that sizzles? And Pete, I'm not talking about sizzling where we're not having fun. Just to give you an analogy here, when you go to a Mexican restaurant and somebody orders fajitas, and everybody turns, they have to look, you hear the sizzling, somebody's coming in, there's energy and excitement, and that's watchable, that's an experience that people are looking for. That's fun. And I like you the way you introduced me as the great separator here. But how do we stand apart? How do we do that? How do we have something that sizzles? And I've been playing around with that, Pete, a little bit, just looking at what else sizzles. Believe it or not, ice cream sizzles, and it's fun, it's different, and it makes people stand up and pay attention. Ultimately, what we want to do is inspire around our story and the selling conversations we have. And the definition of inspire is to get someone to take action. So we're influencing, but at the end of the day, they're taking action, and hopefully with us and the solution that we have to bring to them. So anyways, that's where I've been camped over the last 12 years, really helping organizations, revenue teams get that figured out and have better selling conversations at the end of the day.
Most of the folks that watch this show are retailers, and nothing could be more pertinent right now. That door is not swinging the way it normally swings, and they really need to fine tune, in many cases, their story to separate themselves from their competitors, to be the store that is chosen to visit when somebody needs a mattress, and also to not get put in the same old boat with the other retailers who may not have as much integrity in terms of their operation. It's an interesting thing that part of Americana is uh, our shows, sitcoms primarily, that how do you know it's a holiday? Well, there's a mattress sale, right? And that's, we've earned that, right? I mean, it's not good. I mean, hopefully when people are not getting a good night's sleep, they should be thinking, maybe I need a new mattress, not I can buy a mattress at 70 or 80% off, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Pete, you talk about America. I do a lot of global travel, and especially in your domain, the retail space. I see when I travel across Europe, even, I was at an airport over in Europe, and there was an eatery, but on etched into the glass as you walk into that eatery, a little restaurant, is the story behind that restaurant. And just it's so darn important to sell with a story. What's it all about? Creating that context. And I won't go deep into this, but of course there's tons of research around just why and how humans are just so wired for story. That it just creates meaning, it creates context, it does create a reason to buy. It's so darn powerful, and very often we just miss that. And that's one thing I'm sure we'll talk about as part of this episode, is just product centricity. I see that so deeply, how people do sell, lead with the product and sell the product. And it's pretty sad. Yeah. It's not the right way.
It's very sad. And the interesting thing is I'm a 1099 rep. I own my own repping company, and we are 1099 reps for several companies. And the way that we make money is by selling product. And yet I am the Pied Piper of teaching them that it's not the answer. Product in and of itself is not the answer. Your systems, the way you go to market, the way you separate yourself from the competition, the way you separate yourself in terms of your advertising, the way you separate yourself with your merchandising, the way you separate yourself with your display, the way you separate yourself by making the extra effort to do really good sales training and not just let some rep at a company who never sold at retail uh, teach stupid things uh, to your retail sales associates that don't work or that are just part of some company's propaganda.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Um, and then again, the last piece of that would be service. How do you separate yourself from the competition in terms of service? And how do you make your salespeople and your delivery people proud of the company that you are and who you are to your customer in the marketplace? If you get that stuff right, the merchandise isn't nearly as important. Not that it's not important, it is, but it only is after a customer comes into the door.
hmm,
If no
hmm.
customers are coming in the door, it doesn't matter what product you have, right?
Yeah,
And so
absolutely.
I love what what I saw you when I saw you talking about, this product centricity can be the death of a business. You didn't say that. I just said it. But you, in a much more polished way, essentially said that. And it's so true. I mean, why are we in business? What is our purpose? Are we here to help people wake up pain free and happy to the degree that they can wake up pain free and happy? I mean, they have a horrible disease, or if they're just chronically unhappy, I can't help you. Oh, you buying a new mattress is not going to make everything go away. But
Mm,
if the mattress is the problem and getting the right one gives you the kind of support and the kind of comfort that you can get a good night's sleep and you weren't before, it can change your life. But it
oh,
can only change your
absolutely.
life if other things are in play. If you are, you're in the last week of your life and you have a terminal illness, no, you're buying a new mattress is not going to heal you. And sometimes when I listen to some retail salespeople, I get a feeling that are almost saying stuff like that, and I just cringe. I'm like, all right, we got a lot of work to do.
Hey, P, let me take you into something here, just for fun.
Sure.
I want to give you a little quiz, and I recently, when I was reaching out to you, I wanted to focus on this new book that I wrote. It's called "Inspire Your Buyers: Go to Market with a Story That Sizzles." So it's the story side of the equation. But I love, when I'm talking to people, I love to ask them this key question, if we could, Pete, and I'd love to get your spin on this. What are you selling at the end of the day? A product, or yeah, excuse me, a problem, a product or solution, or an outcome? What are you selling at the end of the day? A problem, a solution, or an outcome? What would you say to that, Pete?
We better be selling an outcome, brother, because if we're not, we're in big trouble.
No, I love it. I love what you say in the book that I was just showing you guys. This guy named John Chambers, he joined a company called Cisco Systems. That's probably the backbone of this conversation that we're having right now. They're all into the internet infrastructure side of things, and he grew it to, from 60 some billion or million to 40 billion.
Ooh.
And I was over at a consumer electronics show, and I met with him. And one of his sales leaders at Cisco said, "Hey, John, what's your one piece of advice for sales?" And he said, "Don't sell products, sell outcomes." Yeah, what was his big focus. So, Pete, you share something with other billionaires, Pete. I'm impressed. But one thing I would say is it's a trick question, Pete. It's a trick question. I would contend you need to sell all three. If you want to get somebody to buy, you need to sell all three: problem, solution, and outcome. What would you say to that contention, Pete?
I would agree wholeheartedly.
Would you? Would you? Oh, cool. Cool. I was hoping you would say, because otherwise, man, everything breaks down and Bruce becomes unhappy. But
No, well, Bruce, here it is. Customers come to us with different thoughts and a different amount of intel that they've done on the internet, different taken in different information, had different conversations with family members getting ready for this purchase. They're all at different places, and you coming at it very high level may not be where they're coming. And a lot of times we need to take people where they're at. And yeah, we're going to eventually have to touch everything and make sure that we bulletproof the sale, right? That we address all the needs and the desired outcomes and the expectations, right? Because if we don't manage expectations, what we just accomplished in the sale is going to go sideways on us, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you full hearty. So my next question for you, Pete, another quiz. Are you ready? Have we had enough caffeine today?
I don't like these trick questions. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you, Pete. Hey, so in what order do we sell them? You know, we talked about problem, solution, outcome, and you just agreed with me. I thought it was really insightful that you said sell the outcome. And that's, you know, typical when I'm talking to people, they gravitate towards there. And I know their level of experience when they say that. But then we talked about, hey, you kind of got to sell all three. But in what order, Pete? What would you say to that quiz, that question? What order do we sell
them? This is what I would say. For a retailer, it's very easy to find out where they're coming from. Most of the time, they're in the problem phase, wanting a solution, and they haven't gotten all the way to the outcome yet. But it's very easy to ask a couple of questions and find out where they're at and take them. Now, in business to business, and we have a lot of sales reps who have joined us. So if you're a sales rep, thank you for joining us. They might be already at the outcome stage, but they might be micro focused on a problem, and we have to enlarge the conversation. So I'm sorry that I didn't give you an easy answer, but I'm sure you're going to touch on everything anyway.
Yeah, I put a little thought into this. Absolutely. So here's what I found. It's kind of funny after gosh, over 20 years of focusing on this. It's pretty interesting to simplify it all the way down to this. But the model that I teach is sell the problem first, and make sure you start and stop on that. If there's no problem to be solved, chances are nobody's buying from you today. Because the problem has so much incredible weight to it in terms of motivating someone to buy. So that's where you always start on that, to anchor on the problem. And I won't bore you with too much science here, but some guys did a study a few years ago. They wrote a book about it called Thinking Fast and Slow. But what they determined, Pete, is humans are irrational creatures. Would that be true? Does that line up with what you know about humans?
After 41 years, I would wholeheartedly agree, my friend.
Yeah. So, anyways, the reason we're irrational is when it comes to a problem, avoiding a problem or fixing a problem versus achieving a gain or achieving an outcome, the problem wins by a factor of 2x. The problem has way more gravity for someone and motivating them to want to change their behavior than the potential gain. So losing $50 isn't the same as gaining $50, in terms of what's motivating. Instead of losing $50, you'd be losing $100 would be equivalent to gaining 50 and motivating someone to want to change. It's off by a factor of 2x. And that's just, again, we're humans, we are irrational. And that's how we think. Humans love avoiding problems or getting problems out of their life. We all hate pain. So definitely when I'm talking to sellers, I'm not going, hey, make sure to find the problem. And most importantly, I highlight the focus of spotlighting the problem. I want to, and for the viewing audience, I'm showing one of my wife's beautiful illustrations that you'll find in my book, but I'm spotlighting a big, hairy problem that's going on in someone's life. And that's where you need to begin. And so from there, Pete, then I say move on to the outcome area. That's where we're going to talk about what life on the beach looks like. And again, one of my wife's illustrations for the viewing audience here. What's life on the beach? What do rainbows look like? What happens when my problem goes away? And in your context, what happens when I'm getting better sleep? How does that really shift my life? How do I benefit? How does that increase my longevity, my mood, everything else about it, my weight, et cetera, et cetera. So you paint that outcome dimension for them. And then if they're sold on the problem and you planted that and that's very real and they agree, yeah, that exists, then you move on to the outcome and they agree with the benefit, the gain they're going to get to their life. If you have those two agreements, then I argue, and only then do you get into the solution area, the product that you have to sell. And I call that showcasing the solution and all its glory, all its features, functions, benefits. And then also in these competitive markets, the true differentiation. What can your customer do that's different than they could with other competitive alternatives? What's unique about your answer that has a tangible, real impact in your buyer's life? And really, so talk about the solution and talk about that differentiating attribute that's quite awesome. Very often, Pete, when we're talking about the solution domain and when I'm working with my clients, I'm always asking them, hey, where's the tech Ron? They're like going, tech Ron? What do you mean? And do you know when you're buying gas, Pete, and which gas station has tech Ron? Do you know by any chance?
I do not know.
It's a Chevron. Now that I say it, you won't be able to unhear this and unsee it every time you pass a Chevron station. But it's Chevron with Techron, and Techron is their one thing that you can't find in other petroleum, other gas stations. And when you dig into Techron, what is it? It's a fuel additive that makes for a happy engine, and a happy engine that's going to drive longer and harder for you, and less maintenance. So definitely use Chevron fuel, other competitive alternatives, because the others don't have Techron and Chevron does, and it means healthier engine, better maintenance for you, lower costs. So anyways, I'm always asking my clients that question. Hey, where's the Techron? How do we really feature that in a way that's going to be quite meaningful for your buyers? So anyways, that's the answer to that question, that flow. How does that sound to you? Because let me see if I've got another visual for this. I think I do. Yeah, just one moment here. Yeah, so I introduced the problem first, then the outcome. What's life on the beach look like? What's life like when the problem goes away and you achieve all that benefit? And then you talk about the solution at hand. What's going to help that problem go away and deliver on that outcome? So that order, how does that jive with you and your experience, Pete?
You know, some of the best retailers that I have books full of testimonials. And they have actually separated the testimonials into problems that they've solved. For instance, customers who had backaches, who they solved the backache problem. Customers who were insomniacs, couldn't sleep, how they solved that problem. And one of the things that I love that these retailers do is you cannot walk into their store without seeing these testimonials everywhere. You cannot get
Mhm.
onto their website and do research without seeing
Oh,
their
cool.
testimonials.
Yeah.
And so they're proving the outcome, and they're creating all kinds of curiosity, because if somebody has got a backache or they're an insomniac or any of the others categories, and there's lots of them, and they see that Betty Lou from down the street had the same problem, and my God, they solved the problem at Gardner's Mattress and More in Lancaster, PA. They're like, they did it for her. Maybe they can do it for me. And by the
Yeah.
way, the last store I was at, they were talking about 70 and 80% off, and they weren't talking about me. They weren't talking about my problems. They weren't talking about any possible solutions in terms of getting a better night's sleep. And they weren't concerned about my outcomes, about me
Yeah.
waking up pain free and happy.
Yeah, I love it. No, so well stated. So I think we're on the same page then, where we're starting with that problem, then we're moving on to the outcome. And then and only then do we get into that, I call that the how land. How do I solve that problem? How do I get the outcome? Then we talk about how and then what might be the product that's part of that overall experience that you talked about earlier, the services and everything else that goes with that overall customer experience. But then we can get into the how, the solution domain, which has a product component, obviously, but for great retailers has a bunch more else going on as well versus just that physical asset, if you would. So that's kind of the flow. I do have a funny story to tell you, Pete, in the retail domain that I think you'll love, that really emphasizes the importance of this. I was doing a project for eBay Motors, and they sell thousands and thousands of cars per month on eBay. I don't know if you knew that. So a customer shows up and does all their kind of research on eBay. And they probably have Consumer Reports and Edmunds and KBB and lots of other little information sources available to try to figure out what car they want to buy, what's a great price for it. And then they go ahead and buy that vehicle on eBay. And when I was working with eBay, I talked to, or I asked them, hey, who's the number one retailer of of cars that are bought on eBay Motors? And they mentioned, oh, that's easy. It's Lexus of Atlanta. And I'm like, oh wow, cool. Can I talk to the owners of Lexus of Atlanta? I totally want to hear how they do things. And they go, oh yeah, sure. So I had a conversation with them, and they kind of had their management team on the phone with me. Thank goodness, it was so fun. But I was asking them, hey, what percent of your customers that pay for a car, through eBay, pay for it? How many of those customers walk away, or excuse me, drive away with the car they paid for, when they come to pick it up, when they come to get the keys? And
Mm.
Pete, that's one thing that really surprised me. So the buyer of a car off eBay, they buy that car, they transact, and they own it. All they're doing is, flying to Atlanta. Very often they take a train from the Atlanta airport straight to the Lexus of Atlanta dealership to pick up their car. And so again, the question I had of them and for your audience is you just think about this. What percent of those people that come to pick up the keys drive away with the car they paid for? And you'd be shocked. Pete, do you want to take a guess on it just for giggles? They already paid for the car. They're there to get the keys. Hey, I'm here to get the keys. Oh, cool. What percent drive away with the car they paid for?
60% drive away with the car that they paid for.
60%?
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty good. It was 80% is what they told me. So 4 out of 5. Oh, thanks, Keith, for the 50% vote. It was 80%. And so 4 out of 5 drove away with the car they paid for, which really surprised me, you know, that 1 out of 5 changed their decision when they were there and drove away with something else.
Yeah.
And it's real simple. I was asking them, you know, what in the heck, you know, why is that the case? You know, why does 1 out of 5, 20% change what they drive away with? And he goes, oh, it's simple. You know, we just ask him, hey, you know, what are you using the car for? You know, tell us a little bit about your life. And then they talk and, you know, Bruce Scheer shows up to pick up his Porsche. And so, Bruce, you said you got a wife and 3 kids, eh? Are they in any sports? Well, yeah. And, what do you use to shuffle them around in and their friends? We don't necessarily really have anything. Dude, we could give you a sports van so you could still try to be cool, but yet give the kids a ride and their friends a ride, you know, but they're just trying to get that right, the right answer in a very beautiful way for those customers as they leave Lexus of Atlanta. So, just making the point that they're really trying to understand their life and the problem that they're trying to solve for before, passing over those keys, just making sure that they're going to be well served. And that's great sales at the end of the day, just making sure you got that right fit for that buyer, making sure they're happy and, you're really setting them up for success. And it starts again with the problem, the outcome, and then the solution. Then you back into that solution. Most junior sellers, Pete, I see have it exactly the opposite way. They start with the solution because that's what they're trained on. They got the product manual, et cetera. They're trying to figure out those details. And of course, they want to talk about what they know about. So they start there. And then when that doesn't work, they didn't sell the customer on the solution. Normally, I see them going to the outcome. But hey, if you had this, here's some of the benefits that you'd be able to achieve. And then when they're still walking out the door, and when that doesn't work, then they throw the Hail Mary pass and go, hey, but what about the problem? And, as the person leaves, and that's the wrong approach. You got to flip that whole paradigm, problem, outcome, solution. Just about that simple.
Keith Burrell asks, what percent of customers come in looking for a specific mattress brand and leave with that brand?
Oh man,
that is a great, thought-provoking question that's going to vary from store to store. But I would say this: if there is a good process in place that's diagnostic up front, like Bruce is recommending, that focuses on the problem and not the brand, spotlights the problem and delves deeper into the problem, then the possibility of changing brands is incredibly huge. I would say this: if 50 to 60% of your people don't change brands, you're probably not doing your job, or you probably don't have the right selection, because you got to remember how the retail customer is just getting information from friends, family. Maybe they've done an internet search or two. You can almost bank on that, but they've been exposed to propaganda and not science. So, I would hope that a large percentage of them. Now, I can see the name brand reps and VPs of sales puffing up their chest going, well, if they asked for my brand, they'd walk out with my brand. don't be so childish. Seriously. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys and gals. Let me just come here. I want to talk to you. There's no one else around, just us. You're going to work for a different company at some point. So why are you like willing to alienate everybody in your life over where you currently are at? Tell the truth always, and you never have to walk anything back, guys and gals. So I love this spotlighting the problem, and I imagine you have multiple steps in there. What are some of the questions that you ask to fully diagnose the problem?
Oh, what a great question, Pete. I love that question. It's oh boy, oh, you mean even when you're talking to a buyer, or as you're, I'm normally working with organizations that are going to market with a new product, a new solution, and I'm typically trying to ask them what's the problem that this solves for. The other thing, Pete, is that the customer might not be fully aware of. They might not even see it. It might be a complete blind spot. But what's the problem that we can spotlight, to use my phrase there, that buyer might not fully grasp, not perhaps not even see. And that's a fun one. I've got a story, if time permits, Pete, I could talk about how my brother sold me an old fishing boat.
I'd
And
love to hear that. I've never
oh,
had
would you?
anyone with a fishing boat story on my podcast. Go
Yeah,
for it. I love
you've heard lots
fishing.
of
I love
fishing.
boats. This has got to be good, Bruce.
Yeah, you've heard lots of fishing stories, but how my brother got me into boating. That let me highlight that, and that really helps illustrate this notion of spotlighting the problem. But during the pandemic, my brother gave me a call. Early pandemic, Pete, when everybody was still scared and at home, etc. My brother gave me a call and he goes, "Hey, guess what, Bruce?" And I'm like, "Going what, Steve?" And he goes, "Dad wants to sell his old fishing boat." And I'm like, just going in my mind, okay, I think I know where this call's going. And he goes, "Yeah, and he wants to sell it on Craigslist." And I'm like going, "Oh shit. Dad wants to sell his boat on Craigslist." Now, my dad's 94 now, but he was 92 when my brother gave me this call. And he is computer literate to the degree of he can turn on his laptop and do email, surf the web a little bit, but that's about it. So at that time, my dad being 400 miles away from me and me needing to get details about his boat and trying to put it online and help him deal with Craigslist. My brain just is getting into a little bit of overload. And I'm like, just going, "Oh shit, Steve. Oh my goodness." And he's like going, "Yeah, but I thought you might want to buy it." Am I going,
That's code.
you
That's
thought
code
I
for
might want to
you're
buy
going to
it.
pay for it and he's going to use it.
Yeah, why in the hell would I want to buy it? I'm like, just going, is it electric like the new Tesla Model 3 I just bought? That's kind of cool. Is it cool like that? Does it have a 49-inch monitor like the one that's on my desk? I think I told you, Pete, I'm a tech gadget type of geek, but he's like going, no, it doesn't have any of that fancy stuff. And I go, well, then why in the hell would I want to buy Dad's old fishing boat? It makes no sense. He's like going, well, how long have you been living on that island? And I live on an island across from the Seattle airport called Vashon Island. But he's like going, how long have you been living on that island? I'm like going, 16 years. He's like going, 16 years living on an island without a boat. If I was you, I would just feel trapped. And I'm like going, trapped? What do you mean trapped? And he's like going, what happens if the ferry system breaks down someday? And I go, well, it's broken down before, but I don't necessarily feel trapped. They fix it. And he goes, yeah, but I don't know, man. What if it's broken down for a while? If I was you, I'd just feel trapped. And I go, oh, that's weird, and then he's like just going, well, hey, here's another one. What about that earthquake that's supposed to hit? And, nobody knows when, 50 years, 500 years, nobody knows when, but it's predicted that it's going to be coming. And anything left of, I-5, Interstate 5 is going to get wiped out. And guess what, Bruce? You're left of I-5. He goes, so if I was you, I would just feel trapped. And I'm like going, well, Steve, I don't feel trapped. I'll give you a call back tomorrow. We'll figure it out. So luckily that he called me on a weekend. So that night I kind of tossed and turned, and I had my big kids back for the pandemic living with me. And so I'm, kind of feeling like, the provider and the protector of the family. And hey, what if that earthquake did hit? And so I didn't sleep much, obviously. So I called him back the next morning and said, hey, Steve, guess what? And he's like, what, Bruce? And I go, I feel trapped. So why else should I buy that boat? And then he's like going, well, did you know out in the Puget Sound where you live off that island, about every mile there's a marina, and your wife loves eating out. So you could go marina by marina, and they're all kind of open a little bit. You could place a telephone order for takeout. They'd have it ready for you, and your wife would just love it. And I'm just thinking, Pete, in my mind, wow, fun and happy wife. How does it get any better than that? After being trapped on an island, I can go have fun and have a happy wife. So anyways, you can see what he's doing there. He's painting kind of this outcome of rainbows and unicorns, fun and happy wife. So then from there, I'm like just going, hey man, I'm sold. How the hell do I, how do I deal with this thing? What do I do? Where do I store it, for example? And he's like going, well, do you still have that little parking spot up at the top of your property? And I'm like going, yeah, I do. Yeah. Nobody's parking there. And he's like going, stick it there. No problem. I go, well, how do I go get it? How do I move it around? He goes, you still have that old Lexus? I go, yeah. By any chance, does it have a tow hitch on it? Funny enough, it does. What size? I go, well, it's 2-inch for my mountain bike rack. And he's like going, perfect. It'll just slot right in. No problem. And then, he answered a couple of other questions for me. But the following weekend, I drove all the way out with the Lexus, picked up that boat from my dad. We did have kind of a hairy negotiation. He wanted $2,000 for it. I countered with $4,000, and then we met in the middle. 3,000. So, anyways, so we, I brought it back, and that was kind of my gateway drug. I used it a ton, and then of course now we're on to boat number 2, and I almost bought boat number 3 this summer, but I'm a boater. I just absolutely love it. But my brother, he really, just walked through all the key elements. He targeted the right buyer. Me, I had money and was able to buy a boat. I had a place to store it, and he knew all this stuff. So he knew I was qualified as a buyer, and I totally didn't even know it. So, and then he spotlighted a problem that I never in my, I'd lived here for 16 years. I didn't realize I had a problem. And he gave me that problem in one word: trapped. And literally that just lodged into my brain, and I couldn't get it out. I couldn't unhear that. So he got me, nailed me, highlighted an unconsidered need that I never would have saw, that blind spot. I was trapped. Then he moved me on to the outcome layer of, fun and happy wife. Then he really talked about the boat, and I'm going, hey, could I go to those marinas in Dad's old fishing boat? And he goes, it's got 14 inches of draft. Sure. He goes, if the storms kick up, just go slow. Yeah, it'll handle it. No worries. You can get around with it. Cool. And then I'm like going, well, where do I store it? How do I, tow it? He answered all my little questions. That's what I call prescribing next steps. And that's what a good doctor does when they're trying to help yourself and heal you. They'll give you step by step by step. And I forgot to tell you, my brother's a retired doctor, so an ultimate salesman. But he laid out all those next steps for me to help me buy. And that's typically, a lot of sellers don't do that as part of what you talked about earlier on, Pete, in terms of a great selling experience, the service and how everything works. How do you get things dialed in? He really helped with all that detail, not too much. He didn't lead with it. He made sure he anchored me on the problem. He sold me on the outcome. And then and only then he got into the solution and then the how to buy and how to bring it into my life. I love that story, Pete. Really kind of just anchors on the key points and simplifies everything that I'm talking about today.
Yeah, he did a lot there, and a lot of doctors aren't great salesmen, but obviously this doctor is.
A retired doctor, yeah, and the smarter brother, I sheepishly, sadly say.
Wow, your dad was awesome. He did a great job, man. That's so for our sleep shop owners, adjustable beds are something that your customers haven't thought about, and they should. They will get a better night's sleep. Certain problems that they might have can be alleviated, um, or at least improved, if not alleviated completely. So everything that our friend Bruce just said about the boat applies with adjustable beds. One of the things that sometimes we don't do as good of a job as we should, that is enlarging the customer's viewpoint. And a lot of times there's things going on in a marketplace that for whatever reason, um, your customer's not aware of. So now I'm speaking to you as reps. So my rep friends, without ever um, compromising intel that's privileged, trends that are going on in the marketplace specifically. Do you know what new stores are going where, especially big chain stores that our smaller retailers are fearful of? Can you share that intel with them and become the go-to expert when it comes to all the other things? So enlarging the conversation and making the conversation bigger than what the customer sees at the beginning is never a bad strategy.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Pete. Hey, Pete, could I give your audience some other thinking around have that selling conversation that sizzles? I've got a
100%.
couple of things that I hope everybody will enjoy. Sizzles, funny enough, it's not just fajitas and creating a show. I have a bit of a framework around sizzles. And sizzle, it's an acronym, and I'd like to highlight what that stands for. So the first thing, structure. And that's what Pete and I have talked about with you guys over the last, over the duration of the show, where we talked about, targeting the right buyer, and then, what's the problem, solution, or outcome and solution and next steps for them. That's all part of the structure. The other thing, the I as part of sizzles is for insight. And that's what Pete was just talking about, and which triggered the idea for me to share this framework with you. But how do you be insightful for that target buyer of yours, helping them see what they don't see, but you do, because you've got deep experience and perspective from helping so many people. How can you bring forward that insight to them? And then here's the Z, the first Z stands for zippy. And there's some science around this, but you want to match the clock speed of that buyer. Some people speak too slow. Sometimes, people from New York accuse me of speaking too slow. I even had one New Yorker said, "Bruce, if I could get through this phone and wring your neck, I would. You got to speed up." But what's the right pacing for that selling conversation that you're having? Is it zippy in the right amount of speed and dialogue with them? The other thing, and I think Pete talked about this a little bit, is it zappy? Are you infusing that buyer with energy, in terms of the problem you're going to help go away, the outcome you're going to help them achieve, getting them situated in the right type of mattress? Are you zappy? Are they feeling that confidence and energy from you? Are you leading them? The L in Sizzle stands for leading. Are you leading them through that buying journey, a problem, outcome, solution, the next steps, and making sure they understand where it's all going? Are you leading them in that journey? And then, are you engaging them? That's what E stands for. Are you engaging them visually? Sometimes people are visual learners. So do you have brochureware, or can you sketch something for them, or anyway create some visual engagement for them? Are you asking open-ended questions, like those Lexus of Atlanta folks are doing, to get people situated in the right car? Are you asking the right questions and open-ended questions, typically, to engage them and making sure they're participating? It's not a monologue, it's a dialogue. And then finally, the final S, and this is probably the one that I have most fun with sellers. I call that sass. And are you sassy? Not in a way that's disrespectful to your parents, but sassy in terms of standing apart, being a little different than other sellers that they deal with. Letting your true essence, your authentic self, your personality show up and win the day. And I love the Pete show. Pete's got so much sass. Pete, I don't know if anybody's told you that, but you are sassy, and I can just feel that, and it's wonderful. But my advice is part of that selling conversation that sizzles. Just make sure you've got all those: structure, insight, zippy, zappy, engaging, leading, and sassy.
And one of the things when we look at good and then we compare that to great retail salespeople, the greatest retail salespeople take the most risks with the customers, but they're calculated risks. And yes, they are sassy. They are memorable. They will be the topic of conversation because they went deeper than any other salespeople. You have to be confident to go deeper and ask questions that the other salespeople aren't asking. Bruce, this was delightful, refreshing. I love your structure. I am so glad that you shared this with us. We only have a few minutes left, and it's really important to me that somebody that's been watching our show that says, boy, I need to talk to Bruce. I think this is a guy that could help my business move forward. How do people get in touch with you, Bruce?
Yeah, the best way to move forward with me, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm at BSCHEER on LinkedIn. So that's a wonderful way. My website is inspireyourbuyers.com. So if you like what I said, I do a lot of writing there. You'll see my podcast. You'll see an article bank up at the top. Gosh, you can meet me in the metaverse. I did confess I am a geek. So I have a penthouse in Dubai where I like to meet people. You got to check that out. But anyways, I'd say those two places are wonderful for getting in touch with me. If you want to schedule any dialogue with me, there's a scheduling area on the website as well at the bottom of each page, if that's useful. Thank you, Chris, for showing this.
Isn't Chris amazing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I love it.
And guys, pick up this book, Inspire Your Buyers. Go to market with a story that sizzles. Bruce Scheer, you got to get it. Guys, Chris couldn't have made it any easier for you. Just click on that Amazon link right now. Grab this book. Let us know how you like it. Reach out to Bruce. And Bruce, thank you so much. Thank you for reaching out to me. Thank you for everything that you've shared with us. Thank you for the laughs. You are zippy, zappy, and sassy, my friend.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ordering
Absolutely.
now. Who is that? It just says Facebook user. I'm gonna make a prediction based on everybody that I know. It's either A, Stu Segura, or B, it is Scott Vaughn, the owner of Happy Z's. And I'm
I hope you
going
guys
with
enjoy
Scott
it.
Vaughn.
Yeah, or even if you want your team to have it, there's a Kindle version, cheaper versions, Audible. If you guys want to listen to it in the car, I say don't listen to it in your bed. I don't want you to go to sleep. I want you to hear this whole thing. But it's best-selling status right now. I hit bestseller on 5 different categories 2.5 weeks ago. Really excited about it, and so just the uptake is really strong. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
Stu, I was right the first time.
Thanks,
Stu,
Stu.
you always take action, and I love that about you. You are hungry, my friend, and you've got to be hungry. You have to take action, and you have to incorporate new things in your business. I know. That's what I said. I'm buying it on Audible right now. So
Thanks. Well, I do promise this for everybody. It's light on calories, but it's very rich in nutrients. It's only a couple hour book. So for people that don't read full books, or this one is pithy, and just I intentionally wrote it to be read in the course of a flight. So I personally don't like long books, especially when it's one concept just repeated multiple times. I just wanted to make this one really actionable and practical, and so I hope you enjoy it.
thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Pete.
Have a great day, everybody, and sell a million. And hello to all my friends at the Nationwide show in Nashville, Tennessee. I hope you guys enjoy Nashville. I hope you all have a great show. Take care.